A parliament exists to serve as a real-time forum to solve the immediate, pressing problems of its citizens. It is the room where the urgency of the street is supposed to translate into the action of the state. Right now, on the ground in India, the crises are undeniable. The country is dealing with severe youth unemployment, crushing daily inflation, and a devastating string of standardized exam paper leaks that are destroying the careers of millions of students. But if you step onto the floor of the parliament right now, you won't hear about any of those things. Instead, the government has initiated a massive 10-hour debate focused entirely on the historical singing of the patriotic song Vande Mataram. Priyanka Gandhi took the floor to directly challenge this disconnect. Her core accusation was blunt. The ruling government prefers to hide in the past because they lack the courage to face the present reality of the people they govern. The session has devolved into a fight over the institution's fundamental clock, whether it should look back at 1896 or forward at the problems of 2024. To kick off this 10-hour debate, the Prime Minister made a specific historical claim. He pointed out that Rabindranath Tagore famously sang Vande Mataram back in 1896. The historical record supports that. But Gandhi pointed out a critical piece of context the Prime Minister deliberately omitted. That 1896 event was actually a session of the Indian National Congress. This omission serves a distinct rhetorical purpose. Political leaders often curate historical details to strip their opponents of their historical legacy, allowing the current government to claim a monopoly on patriotism for themselves. When politicians initiate high-profile debates about 19th century history, the goal is rarely historical accuracy. It is a calculated strategy to control the terms of engagement in the present day. The ruling government's deflection tactic relies heavily on a single narrative, blaming the structural issues of modern India on its first prime minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. In response, Gandhi traced a direct, undeniable line from the historical institutions built by those past leaders to the very successes the current government boasts about today. She pointed out that without the historical founding of ISRO decades ago, there would be no successful Mangalyaan mission to Mars today. Without the early creation of the Defense Research and Development Organization, India would not be flying the domestically built Tejas fighter jet. Without the establishment of foundational educational institutes like the IITs and IIMs, India's current global dominance in the IT sector simply would not exist. And without building legacy medical infrastructure like AIMS, the nation would have lacked the capacity to handle massive modern crises like the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a glaring paradox here. The current government takes credit for a developed India while actively privatizing public sector assets like BHEL and SAIL, the exact infrastructure that laid the foundation for that development. To expose this dynamic, Gandhi offered a sarcastic proposal. She suggested they formally dedicate 10, 20, or even 40 full hours to reading the government's entire list of 9,999 grievances against the Nehru-Gandhi family, just to finally close the chapter. By offering to exhaust all of the government's historical deflections at once, she removes their excuse to avoid debating current issues, like controversies in the Prime Minister's office, illegal betting apps, and the daily struggles of Indian youth. Attacking the past is politically easy, but dismantling the physical and institutional foundations of the state to score political points ultimately undermines the nation's capacity to build its future. The immediate reaction from the parliamentary chair to Gandhi's speech was swift. He repeatedly interrupted her as she tried to pivot back to modern problems. The chair made a specific demand, ordering the opposition to stop bringing up unrelated topics and instructing them to stick strictly to the scheduled debate on Vande Mataram. The irony of that moment played out in real time on the floor. The establishment had successfully categorized discussions of mass unemployment, crushing inflation, and exam leaks as diversions. Even within the government's own ranks, voices are warning that concentrating all authority at the center is paralyzing the state. This retreat into history is a defensive posture, a way to avoid defending a record that even their allies are starting to question. Forcing a nation into impassioned debates over historical symbols is an admission of failure. It is the clearest signal that a government has no answer for the crises happening outside the building today.